Thanksgiving. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend just eating turkey and spending time with family and friends. I wanted to do just a little special video this weekend for a little treat box. And I have two different patterns to show you. This is one you could use kind of for any sort of Thanksgiving dinner. And then this one is just kind of a fall themed encouragement box. So these are both what I like to call little book boxes. And I saw this pattern years and years ago, but I cannot for the life of me remember who I got it from. So I've modified it since then. And I just thank whoever it was way back when for introducing me to this little book binding box. So I'm sure that tutorials are out there for ones that have been done in the past, but I thought I would use this template that's just been in my little note cards to introduce you to our new Come Together suite. So that's this paper back here, as well as our Harvest Hellos stamp set and punch. So I'm going to show you how to make these little guys, and then I hope from here that I'll see lots of pictures of modifications that you guys have made. Perhaps you could put a little snowman on the front to make these a little winter box, or you could use another one of our sets from the holiday catalog or our annual catalog to make this your own. So without further ado, here we go. I noticed Debbie's on. Hello, my dear. This was a surprise video, so I know not many people are going to be online, but that's okay. So I'm just going to put those on the side. So the first thing that we need is 2 pieces of very vanilla cardstock, and that is going to be used to make our box. So one of our box pieces is going to be larger than the other because we want them to be able to fit inside each other and to close. So for your larger piece of very vanilla, you're going to cut that at 4 inches by 5 1/4 and just put it aside. And then your smaller one, you are going to cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So those will be the 2 sizes you need. However, the rest of the assembly is going to be the same for them. So you don't need to make sure to keep them separate. We'll be able to find out which one's larger and which one's smaller as you go. So you've got your 2 pieces of cardstock. I've already cut and scored the larger one for myself, but I'm just going to put that aside and show you how to do the box assembly. So on your scoreboard, you're going to take your piece of cardstock and rest it in the corner. With your stylus at the 3/4 inch mark, we're going to score on all 4 sides. Okay? So just keep rotating your paper and do this on all 4 sides. This is my smaller box piece, and I did the exact same thing for my larger. I put it in the corner and I scored at 3/4 inch. Okay, so you're doing the same thing for both. Hi, ladies. And then we are going to add some little notches into my tabs here. So I just like to take my scissors and in the square parts, those are in the corners, because we don't want to cut on the rectangle. That's the part of your box here that you actually see. The squares, they get tucked into the back part here and nobody will see them. So don't cut on your rectangle. Cut in your square part. And I like to just cut up that score line that we first made and then just give myself a little triangle notch. And this is going to help me when I'm folding this tab inward for it to actually close properly. So you can do this on all 4 of your squares. I kind of like to just do 2 on the one side and flip it over and do the same. So I've got 1 here. I'm going to go up this little line, again, that score line, and cut myself a little triangle and put that aside. Now I'm going to turn my paper completely around and do the exact same thing on this side here. Cutting up that little scored line, making a triangle, and doing the exact same here. Now you can have your choice of adhesives to put this box together. If you're somebody who's a little unsure about how things line up, I do suggest our Tombow liquid glue because it's very forgiving. When you put it on the little flap, you'll have a few seconds to be able to kind of adjust it and do what you need. But you do have to sit there and hold the two pieces together. So I like to use either snail or our double-sided tape. So I'm going to use our double-sided tape today, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and fold on all of my lines here. Now I'd want a nice crisp fold, so I'm going to take my bone folder and just go around all those edges. So the entire perimeter of your box, you're giving nice crisp folds on all of those pieces. And again, you're going to do the exact same thing on both sides of your box. Okay, so I've done my small box. Just put that aside for a minute, and I'm going to fold up my big box here and do all those sides. And like I said, do not be worried if you can't remember at this point which one's the big and which one's the small box. You'll be able to tell as soon as you put them together. Okay, so we've got all those sides folded, and then I have put tape already on this guy, so I'm just going to take those pieces off the little flaps that I had them on. So all four sides you need some tape, and then you're just going to tuck these flaps onto the inside of your box, okay, and just give a little gentle squeeze. This is where I mentioned if you're using that Tombow liquid glue, you do have to sit here and hold this in position for probably at least 10 seconds so that your glue starts to dry. But if you're using snail or double-sided tape, you'll be able to just quickly press and move on. Okay, so I've got one box done, and then I'm just going to grab my tape and grab pieces for the other box. Snail works too. Just put those gently on the flaps. And you can put this piece together as well. All right. So once you have your box put together, you'll be able to say, okay, which one's big, which one's small, put them together like this. Now we're going to get the pieces that we need ready for the outside of our box, okay? So set this white box, this ivory box aside just for the moment, and we're going to focus on the three pieces that we're gonna need for our book binding. Okay, so for your cover, on this one I used the Pretty Peacock, and on this guy here I used the Cajun Craze. So you'll need two identical pieces of DSP. And these guys I cut at, what did I cut them? I cut them at 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. So 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. You need two of them the exact same. For decoration on the front here, I did cut a nice piece of the DSP. This is different. It's just another pattern from the Come Together paper set, so you can choose whatever you like. I thought it'd be fun to try these stripes. So this cardstock, you're going to need just one of them, and it's going to measure 4 inches by 2 3/4. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, go back. I messed you guys up. This DSP is 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. Disregard my other measurements. This guy, 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. You need 2 of the cardstocks measuring 4 inches by 2 3/4. Okay, so 4 inches, 2 3/4. I'll make sure to post all those in the comments after the video. Okay, so we've got those 3 pieces. Now we need the spine here, and that's going to be again another piece of that colored paper. So for the spine, this is measuring 4 inches, so the same height as your cardstock, by 1 3/8. Now I did a score mark at the 1/4 inch mark on either side of this. I've already done that, but you can do it on your board just at the 1/4 inch mark and put a piece of skinny tape if you have it. If not, you can put a little bit of glue in that section as well. And then to make it really cute, I don't know if you can see this, but I made some score lines that we're actually not going to fold on. They just make kind of a book spine, if you can see that, so that it looks really like you're just making a book. So you're not folding on those lines, but you can just add two together. I went at the 1/2 inch mark and then just at the next peg beside it too. So 1/2 inch on either side, draw a score mark, and then give a second line as well, just for looks. And then we're going to fold just on those long pieces and make sure to either squeeze it really tight and use a nail along it or grab your bone folder. Before we put the pieces together, I corner rounded the edges of my book. Okay, so you take your fancy schmancy corner rounder, and this is our duo punch. So we've got some fancy corners, and this one here is the corner rounder. So just put that down, and you're only corner rounding two sides. Okay. If you accidentally do the other ones, it's fine. Your spine will kind of cover them, but you really just want to. Okay. So we end up with two pieces that are corner rounded, and I'm just going to lay them out like an open book. So this is how you'd open your book, just so that it's in front of me, and I'll put my spine in between just to look at. And then my cover, you can choose which color you like. You can attach that to the front piece. So just with a little snail, attach that to the front of your book. All right, now you're ready to assemble. So we're holding on to this large front cover piece, and that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the larger of your two boxes, so find which one that is and take it out. And you're going to put some adhesive onto the back. So you can either use snail or you can use double-sided tape. We're going to take this box and line it right up with this edge. You'll have a tiny bit of space on either side here and a little bit of a border at the front, so you can kind of see my parameter on this one. But this back edge is lined up right to the edge of that piece of paper. Okay, so piece of paper, and line this guy right up to that edge. And then make sure you squeeze it or press it down really well, because we want this box to be nice and sturdy for whoever's opening and closing it. And then the easiest thing to do is put adhesive on this little guy, that small box there, and drop it right inside your large box. Okay, now you can take your back piece of paper and you can line it up with the edge of this larger box. Instead of you trying to figure out where exactly to place the smaller one, we're going to use the edge of that large box to the edge of this back page. Again, trying to leave some sort of border on either side there. And then press it gently so it sticks. Pull it apart and press it really firmly into place. All right, now you can put this together if you want. You will end up having to kind of take it apart again, but we're going to take the top part of our spine. So take one of those pieces of tape off, or if you have glue, that's totally fine too. And we're going to rest this groove, that scored line, when it's folded, onto the edge of our book. Okay. It's the same height as the book, so it should fit quite nicely. Make sure it attaches really, really well. And now you'll notice that this dimension is actually longer than the actual book binding. And that's because if I was to have it exactly the same, we wouldn't have any play for you to open your book up. It would literally just kind of catch and not move. So this piece is purposely just a fraction of an inch too big because we want to have that freedom to open and close this book. Okay, so take out your little piece here, take off the adhesive from the back, and then you can go ahead and line up the back of this spine with this groove here. Sorry, I moved that into my eyesight. There we go. Make sure it's nice and secure. And then your book, your small piece, should be able to go inside your large one. If you've mixed it up, it's fine. Your book will just open the other way. Okay, so just make sure that those gently slide in together. And then we're going to work on the front decor here. So I made kind of a apple pumpkin hybrid thing because I used pumpkin colors, but really it's an apple. So I'm going to show you two ways to make this pumpkin here. I showed the girls at club one way, and just because I wanted them to have a base to work from. But there is also another way to give your pumpkin a little bit more life. So the first way that I'm going to show you is you'll stamp 5 of these pumpkins using the Harvest Hello stamp set. You can also do this for apples. It works the exact same way, just use the apple stamp. So we used Cajun Craze paper and ink for our pumpkins here. And I just found if you cut a 2-inch strip on our 11 by 8.5 paper, you can fit them perfectly across. So we've got 5 of them here. We're going to grab that corresponding punch here. This is from that Harvest Hello's bundle. And then you can go ahead and cut them out. Now the reason I like to cut a 2-inch strip is because you'll notice there is a stem and a leaf up here. I don't need them in orange, so I don't want to continuously waste paper by having orange paper sitting up here. I can get a good 1/2 inch more from my paper when I just cut a strip. So feed all those in, make sure they're nicely centered in your window, and then you can punch all 5 of them out. Now I've already done that, so I have a nice little pile of them here. And I'm going to move this for a second here. Okay, so to work on our little pumpkin, the first way that I'm going to show you is using 4 pieces that you take to the top of your scoreboard. It doesn't matter what spot, but you just need to make a score line down the middle of your pumpkin so that you can fold them really easily in half. If you're somebody who's confident in doing that yourself, you can do this just on your own, but that scoreboard really helps get a nice crisp line. We're folding this in half and also putting that bone folder down too. Okay, so you're going to take 4 of your pieces like this and just have them all folded in half. And one of your pumpkins doesn't have any score lines. If you forgot, it's okay because we're going to cover it up. Take a little piece of adhesive and stick it on the very top of your pumpkin. And that's where you can take your stem and your leaf that we've already punched out with different colors. So for the leaf, I used the pretty Peacock, and for my stem, I used soft Suede. Okay, so I'm going to put my stem on here onto that adhesive so I don't have to worry about little bits of adhesive like you would otherwise. And then my leaf I'm also putting on here. Put them up a little higher because you want them to show through. And then we're going to come over and put adhesive onto our pumpkin. So one piece, and then put this guy on top. And we're just going to build a tower out of our pumpkin halves here. Okay. So we've got 3 of them piled, 4 of them piled, like so. And then when you fan them out, they're a cute little pumpkin like this. We're going to put this pumpkin onto its base, and that means you just know exactly how it lines up. You've got something to work on top of, and you don't have to finick with these little pieces with glue or glue dots even. So go ahead and put adhesive on either side of this pumpkin here. And then stick that onto your pumpkin platform. And this beautiful 3D item can then be attached to the front of your book. Now I wanted to show you one other way to do a pumpkin. So this can be for any other project. So you can use a pumpkin as a backdrop, or when you cut out your 5 pumpkins from the strip, you can score all 5 of them, okay? And put adhesive onto those. You can put a little bit of a glue dot or adhesive onto your stem and your leaf. And you're gonna put these straight onto your project before we even put our pumpkin on there too, okay? So you're gonna take your leaf and put that right near the top of your project here. And now we're gonna build a pumpkin. So we're using our book box now as our base for these 2 little pieces. And this gives my pumpkin a little bit more life. So take your adhesives off and start piling these 5 together. Like so. There we go. That was my front one. All right, so I've got these 5 here, and I have adhesive on both sides of this, and then you can easily fan that out. And now this pumpkin just is a little bit fuller than this one. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could do 6 pumpkins for this one. Have 1 for a base and 5 to fan out. But I wanted just to use 1 strip of paper and to make the project with only 5 pumpkins. So you can use 1 as a base, or you can use all 5 in a fan and put that onto your book, like so. And then just with your stamp sets, you can choose, I chose the Happy Harvest sentiment for this one here from the Harvest Hello stamp set. And then I chose the Hello stamp from the To a Wild Rose, just so that I could have something kind of more generic for this project here. So I popped that up with dimensionals. You didn't need a sentiment up, and put that onto the box. And then you'll be able to have a little box to either put a card or a note in, or maybe some candy. The Bath & Body Works hand sanitizers also fit in here, so you could always put one of those inside. And hopefully you all had a super amount of fun watching this. And if you do decide to make it at home yourselves, please post your modifications. Use some of our other stamp sets and feel free to share away. If I can find the wonderful lady who I got these measurements from years ago in the first place, I will also post those, but look for the measurements in the comments so that you have them for your own reference. Thanks for watching, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.